Hi, so in this video I'm going to be teaching you how to pass data from a master view into a detail view controller using core data. So what we have here is inside the master view controller we have a table cell which has names such as my name, Amy and Ali. So when you click on each name, the accompanied data will display here. So as you can see, Adab, the address and number. And if you were to click on Amy, for example, you'll get her name, her address and her number, and same goes for Ali. So in this video I'll be teaching you how to insert core data and how to pass data from the master view controller to the detail view controller. To see how it works, when we click the add button, we get a form. Inside here I'm going to insert another name such as, for example, Harry. Address will do 87th Street, telephone number 765. Sorry for the small layout, the focus wasn't really on the layout, it was more on how to pass the data. So when you click on create, now Harry will display here, accompanied by his address and his number. So this is what I'll be showing you today, and if you want to see how we have done this, then please watch on. Create a new Xcode project. And I'm going to be choosing the master detail application. The reason I want to choose this application is because it provides us with the table view on the left hand side and the detail view on the right hand side. So it gives us a split view controller. And then I'm going to click next. And for the product name, I'm going to name it address book. The reason I want to name it address book is because it gives us the style of the address book. The language I'm going to be using is Swift, and the device I'm going to be using is iPad. However, it's up to you whether you want to do it for iPhone or Universal. And make sure core data is clicked because we're going to be using core data. And I'm going to click next. I'm going to save it inside my documents. Click create. Okay, and now we're going to run the program. The first time you run it, it will be slow, but we just want to see what we come up with. As you can see, we are presented with a detail view controller, and if we click here, here's the master view, and we have table cells. Ignore this, you won't receive this. Okay, here we have the master view, and here we have the detail view. You can also go landscape and portrait by clicking command right and command left. Also, by default, if you click on add, you can see the date and the time. If you keep clicking, it will always change. And when you click on one of these, the same appears inside the detail view controller. So if I click another one, the same appears here. You can also edit them, so you can delete them. You can delete this one, I'll delete this one, done. Add more. We're going to do a similar style, so instead over here we'll have the name, and over here we'll display the address and the telephone number. Okay, so now first of all we'll look inside the core data. So as you can see, we have the event entity and a timestamp attribute. We're going to create a new entity, and we're going to name it person. Now inside here we're going to create attributes. We're just going to click on here, add attribute. We're going to have name. I'm going to have it a type string. I'm going to have another one. I'm going to name it address. And again, I'm going to have it type string. And I'm going to have number. I'm also going to keep this as type string just for now. So that's our core data done. So now I'm going to go back to the storyboard. So now this is how our storyboard works. We have the split view controller, and we have the master view here, and we have the detail view over here. What now we want to happen is when the user clicks the plus button, instead of adding timestamps, it will go to the new view controller with the form. So I'm going to drag a view controller from here. I'm going to place it here. I'm going to do now is I'm going to zoom in, and I'm going to drag some text fields and some labels. So it's going to drag some labels. So I'm going to have 3 labels. It's going to be called name, address, and number. Just going to align them. And next to that, I'm going to put the text fields. Make sure they're aligned as well. And then I'm going to have a create button. So when the user clicks create, it will add it to the core data. I'm going to name this create. Just like that. And then I'm going to select them and add some constraints to them. Select all of them. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to do add missing constraints. Just like that. So now, next step we'll need to do is we need to assign this view controller to a class. Because as you can see, if we go here, there's no class assigned to it. So we're going to go to File, New File. I'm going to create a Swift file. Next, I'm going to name it Add View Controller. I'm going to click Create. And here we have a new Swift file. I'm going to import UI kit for the UI view controller, and I'm also going to import core data, so it's going to be using core data. Then to make it easier, rather than having to write it myself, I'm just going to go here. Just going to copy this line of code, just so we don't have to write it ourselves. Add view controller. I'm going to copy the view did load. You don't need to copy the memory warning. Just going to go back here, paste this, just like that. I'm going to remove this line as well. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to the main storyboard. Well, it's going to click here, and now where it says class, you put the same name as the class that you did. So now we have it as add view controller. So I'm going to put here add view controller, just like that. Now what we need to do is we need to connect this to this class. When the user clicks the add button, it will come here. What we need to do, I'm just going to click here. I'm just going to go here and control drag to here. And I'm then going to do present mode view, just like that. And now over here, I'm just going to go and give it a name for the identifier so they know the name of it. I'm going to name it show form. Just like that. Okay, so the next step, we're going to go back to the master view controller. Now we need to find the function for the add button, because now when you click the add button, it adds timestamps. We don't want that no more. So here's the add button, and you can see here, insert new object, which is this function, insert new object. So now we can remove this line of code, we don't need all this. This was for the timestamp. And instead, we're going to do self.perform segue with identifier. Inside here, we're going to put the name of the identifier, which is show form. As you can see here, if we go back here again, and we click here, it's show form. And then here, sender, it's going to be self. Let's going to save this. And now, if I just quickly run it again, before you run it, make sure you always go hardware home and delete and open it again. Because every time you play with the core data, it will crash. And when you delete it, don't worry if you get this message, it's fine. I'm going to run it again. When you click over here now, you click on add or display on new view controller. So now what we're going to do is we're going to get the data. So now if we go to the add view controller and we go here, just go underneath here, I'm going to split the screen in half, and over here I'm going to display the storyboard. And what I'm going to do now with these input fields, I'm going to drag them as outlets. So I'm going to control drag. I'm going to name this one name field. I'm going to name this one address field. I'm going to name this one number field. Just like that. And now I'm going to go down here. I'm going to create, first of all, I need to create an NS managed object for the core data. So I'm going to do var, I'm going to name it people, for example, equals NS managed object. This basically works as a class. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to drag the create button, and this type's going to be an action because we need to work it as a function. I'm going to call it create button. It's going to be a UI button. I'm going to click connect. So now inside here, I need to insert the code. I will insert the data inside the core data. So first of all, I will create empty strings for each one of the values. So I'm going to do var name text equals var address text equals and var number text equals. Next, I'm going to assign them to the empty strings. So I'm going to have name text equals name field dot text optional address text equals address field dot text optional. I'm going to have number text equals number field dot text optional. Oh sorry, number field capital N. Like that. Next, I'm going to do now the code to insert the data. So I'm just going to remove this, get more room. So we do let app delegate equals UI application dot shared application dot delegate as app delegate let manage context equals app delegate dot managed object context let entity equals entity description dot entity for name. Now here you put the name of the entity. So as you can see here, we named it person. So here we put person, and let me double check this capital letters. Yes it is. In managed object context, managed context. I'm just going to go down here. I'm going to do let user equals ns managed object entity, and I'm just going to place here its entity insert into managed object context, managed context. And now after this, I'm going to set the values now to go inside the core data. So I'm going to do user dot set value. Now inside here, I'm going to have first name text, which is the value of the user, what they entered inside the name, and it's going to go in stride the name field. Similar here, so I do user dot set value address text, and again it will go inside the address field. And last one we do is user set value. Number text, and again for key, it goes inside the number. So just to double check, we have name, address, number, name, address, and number. So let's go back in here, name, address, and number. What I'm also going to do, I'm going to add a date. I'll show you later why I'm doing this, but it's highly important. So date. And I'm also going to go back to my add view controller. It's going to also do user dot set value. I'm going to do nsDate function. Just like so. And again for key. And I'm going to put it inside date. Just like that. Okay. So now we're going to put it and save it inside the core data. We're going to do. We're going to do try manage context dot save, and then we're going to get the name of our managed object, which is people, and then we're going to do people dot append user. Next we're going to do a catch. So catch let error as ns error, and here we put a print statement. We'll write print could not save error. I'm going to put a comma. Error dot user info. Just like that. And now, when the user clicks the create button, we want the view controller that the user is currently in to disappear. I want it to go back to the master view. So to do this, we want to write the following line of code. Dismiss. You can keep it animated. True. And then here, I'm going to put nil. Okay. So now the next step is we're going to go back to our master view controller, and inside here we're going to now display inside the table view cells inside the master view. So if we go down, we can see that, for example, over here the entity name is event. We're going to name this to change the person. Also over here, it's not going to be timestamp anymore. We want the name to display. We want to have it named. So person and name. Over here, we're going to put date. I'm going to have it as true. The reason for this is so that it will go in order, and if we don't include the date, it will all go messed up. So I'm going to have it date, and ascending, we're going to make it true. I'm going to go more down and see what else. Okay, so now if we save this, and also don't forget, go hardware, home. So if we delete it, again, don't worry about this. If we run it again, if we go master and click on add, so name, for example, I'll put my name 16, 65th Street. Just put any number. If I click on create, you see it displays here my name. Now what to happen is when the user clicks here, over here it will display the name, the address and the telephone number. Because now what happens is when you click on here, nothing. So to do this, first of all, we're going to go inside our storyboard. And you can see here we have a detail view controller. Now we need to link this detail view controller to the title cell over here. So now I'm just going to zoom out a bit. What I'm going to do, I'm going to drag from here, try to get the title. I'm just going to drag it, the control drag, and click show. Just to make sure, if I click here, this is highlighted. This is what we want. Also, when it's highlighted, I'm just going to click on it, right click. You can see it should say selection, detail show. So I'm just going to click on here. I'm going to give it a name of the identifier. I'm going to name it show details. Just like that. Also, we need to create, so I'm going to remove this. And instead, I'm going to have 3 input fields. So it's going to go here. I'm going to drag 3 labels first of all. So 1, 2, 3. This is name, number, and address. And then I'm going to drag some text fields. So 1, 2, and 3. Again, similar. The reason I'm using text fields is because in further videos I'm going to teach you how to edit and update data. So it will be really useful to have it in text fields. Just going to highlight all of them. Just going to click here and do add specific constraints. Okay, so this is what I have so far. Okay, now we're going to go back to the master view controller, and now we're going to go to the prepare for segue function. As you can see, we have this code inside the prepare for segue function. We don't need this no more. What we're going to do is we're going to remove it. And inside here, we're going to have an if statement. We're going to say if the segue identifier, if the name of it is show details, which it is, as you can see again, if you go back to main storyboard and click here, it is show details. So if it is show details, open bracket, I'm then going to write let index path equals self dot table view dot index path for selected row optional, and then I'm going to do let user, for example, equals, just before we continue we have to create an NS managed object. So I'm going to name my NS managed object people. Let people equals NS managed object. So here it's going to be let user equals people index path dot row. I'm going to do let controller equals segue dot destination view controller as detail view controller. I'm then going to do controller dot detail item. Detail item is the object inside the detail view controller. We're going to have a look at that. Equals user, and then I'm going to do a print statement. So now if we look inside our detail view controller, you can see here we have the detail item. So we're going to send off the data to here. First of all, we're going to do, we're just going to remove this because we don't need it no more. And now we need to display the data inside the detail view controller, inside the input fields. So similar as before, we're just going to split the screen. We go to storyboard. I'm going to drag the 3 input fields here. So I'm going to drag one. I'm going to name this one, let's name it name txt. Let's do that. So name text. I'm going to drag this one as well. I'm going to name it number text. And this one as well. I'm going to name it address text. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, we're also going to import core data. Okay, so now inside here, inside our configure view function, I'm just going to hide this. As you can see here, it says if let detail equals self.detail item. If let label 1 equals self, we're going to do, instead of the label that it was initially had, we're going to do self.name text. We're going to display, instead of the timestamp, we're going to display the name. Similar here, we're going to go a bit down. I'm going to do if let label 1 equals self.number text. Label 1.text equals detail, so the value that we're receiving. Value for key, inside here, this is going to be number. So I'm going to put the number in this field. So optional dot description. Okay, spelled that wrong. I'm going to do if let label 2 equals self dot address text. We're going to do label 2 dot text equals detail dot value for key, and inside here I'm going to have address. Again, optional dot description. Okay, this is what we have so far. Okay, before we run it one more final time, we need to make some more changes inside the master view controller. Just going to go back here, and we're going to go to the view will appear function. As you can see here, we have a view will appear function, and it has 2 lines. We don't need this. We don't need this line, so we're going to remove this line. We're going to keep this line as well. So now, just to make sure everything else is how it is. So now in here, we need to get the core data. So what we're going to do is we're going to do let app delegate equals UI application dot shared application dot delegate as app delegate. Let manage context equals app delegate dot manage object context. Oops. So dot manage object context. Now we're going to fetch the request. So fetch request equals ns fetch request entity name, and we named it person. So as you can see, if we go back here again, let's name it person. And now, again similar, we're going to do let results equals try managed context dot execute fetch request. Over here, so I'm going to have fetch request, and over here I'm going to have the name of the core data, which is people, equals results as ns managed object. Okay, so just double check that. Do let results equals try managed context dot execute fetch request. So inside here we're gonna have fetch request, and it's gonna color. We have people equals results. Okay, as and it's managed object. Okay. Just gonna double check the person. Oh, people, sorry, it's not person, it's people. Oh, it is people. It should be var. So we have results as ns managed object. And what I'm going to do is just going to go down. I'm going to have catch let error as ns error. And in here, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to do something similar. So print could not fetch just like that. Okay. Now, just going to make sure everything is fine. So that was my mistake. I think I made it as a let. And now, just make sure everything is fine. I'm just going to save it. Just going to open the simulator. Just going to again close it. Just going to delete it. Okay, let's run it. So now, if I just go here and I click on add, for example, I'll write down my name. Let's do 65 Street. And number, I'm just going to import anything. I'm going to click create. If you click on here, you can see that it displays the details. However, we're having a slight problem with the design. So if I do another one, for example, let's do Hannah. Let's do 54th Street. Just gonna add a number. Just gonna click create. So now you can see we have my name. If we click on Hannah, you can see Hannah's. So now to fix this design problem, I'm gonna go to the main storyboard and see what is going on here. So this is correct. This should be show. That's working fine. Just gonna double check that everything is fine. Sometimes it may be a bug. Okay, so it turns out the problem was just a little bug. So I closed Xcode and I run it up again, and now it works perfectly fine. So now if I click on add, for example, and enter my name, 65th Street, and the any number, and I click create, if I click on here, it displays it. And as you can see here, because we did print, it also displays here. So if I just want to drag back, and also if I add more, for example, I'll put Amy, she lives in 87th Street, and just enter any number, and I click create. Now we have Adab, and we have Amy. And again, just keep on continuing. Harry, 76th Street, just any number, and again. This works perfectly fine. So the aim of the video was how to pass on data from the master view to the detail view controller. As you can see, the focus was not on the design, but it is all about core data and how to insert it to core data. So I really hope you liked this video. If you did like it, please give it a thumbs up and also subscribe for further videos. Thank you.